You know what time of the week it is. It's time to light them up, baby. Let's go.
You are tuned in to the Light 'em Up podcast, home of the hottest sports debate show on the internet. Each week, we feature 3 debates on the past, present, and future of sports. And if you don't come correct, you will get lit up. Thanks for listening. Now let's get into the action. Good evening and welcome to Light 'em Up, the home of Fan First Sports Debate. I am live with David, executive producer of LilySchu, and your host for tonight. And joining me on the debate stage this evening are Wolmer, PatrickRuch, JG3, and our season 1 champion, LilySchu. And our debates will take us to the NBA, the NHL, and the MLB. So all around the major leagues this evening. Tonight's show is going to provide a lot of intrigue because of the standings and just because there's also some history being made as well. Wolmer will be the first caster ever to do 3 debates on a show. So he's going to be our marathon man for this evening. Should he sweep tonight, he will take sole ownership of first place for season 2. He will be 5-0 with no ties. He would also take the best record all time as he would be 8-0. However, one of those contests happens to be against Wolmer. She would own the best all-time record at 9-2-0 and would be 1 win away from being the first caster in LilySchu's history to be in double-digit wins. So lots of intrigue set up for tonight. I fully expect Patrick, JG3, and Lily to have something to say about Wolmer running the table. So without any further ado, let's get into tonight's show. Let's light them up. So our first debate will be on the matter of who will be selected first in the 2022 NBA draft. And the draft lottery has come and gone, and we now know that the Orlando Magic will have the first overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft when it emanates from the Barclays Center on Thursday, June 23rd. The question now becomes who will be selected first, and that makes a great debate for Light 'em Up. And to debate this, I have 2 fierce competitors leading off tonight's show. Wolmer, who again is our marathon man tonight, is siding with the standout 7-foot center from Gonzaga, Chet Holmgren, who in his single season averaged 14 points, 9.9 rebounds, and 3.7 blocks per game. Wolmer holds a record of 2-0 here in season 2 and a 5-2 record all time, winning his last 3. Joining him in this debate is my fellow co-producer for Light 'em Up, PatrickRuch, who will be making his case for SEC Freshman of the Year power forward Jabari Smith, making his case for him getting his name called first in Brooklyn a week from this Thursday. Patrick, who is 1-2 in season 2, will aim to get back to 500 tonight. I welcome both to the show at the time. And Wolmer, by way of you having the better record, you, my friend, get to choose whether you want to kick off or defer. What is your decision?
I would love
Light
to
'em up,
kick off
girl,
to go
gets to-
What's up, Pat?
Oh, actually, nope. Patrick is correct. He Light 'em Up crew does get to choose to kick off or defer. My apologies for the confusion.
That's fine.
So, Patrick, do you wish to defer or to start?
My friend, I choose to defer, so he got it right the first time. It's all good.
I didn't catch that. Sorry.
I choose to defer, sir. Defer.
You choose to defer? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Wolmer, your 2-minute opening statement starts now.
All righty. Well, Chet Holmgren is a very interesting prospect coming into this year's NBA draft. A rare talent, a 7-foot-tall giant that literally can dominate anywhere he's on the floor. He's a 7-foot giant that can move like a point guard, very quick off his feet. And you can literally put him anywhere on the floor and he's going to make an impact. As you said, he averaged over 14 points per game last year for Gonzaga, 9.9 rebounds, 3.7 blocks. He was phenomenal for Gonzaga. But when you look at what Orlando needs, they need an instant impact player that not only is going to help make the team better, but they can help build around for years to come because they are still not in a position to contend. You look at the starting 5 with Chet Holmgren in there. Cole Anthony entering his 3rd year in the NBA. Jalen Suggs, 2nd year. Franz Wagner, 2nd year in the NBA. And then you got Chet Holmgren who plug into 4 of the 5. And then you got Wendell Carter Jr., who is probably the most seasoned vet out of that starting 5. It's not a starting five that will make them anywhere near playoff contenders, but a project that they can build going forward because that's a team they can build around. On the bench, you have Markel Fultz, who's still recovering from his injury, who probably won't make an instant impact. Jonathan Isaac, who is not
45 seconds.
ready for the start of the year because he is injured, and Terrence Ross. This is a team that is a project and it needs patience to be ready to put together. Adding a guy like Jabari Smith will accelerate the team in the wrong direction because you're looking at a player that is going to make an instant impact, but he's not going to help build this team together because he needs the ball in his hands to do everything. And that will take away from the production of a guy like Jalen Suggs, who as well needs the ball in his hands to do major work. And you saw how he did last year with the ball prominently in his hands. He was almost unstoppable.
10 seconds.
I'm done.
All right. Thank you, Wolmer, for that opening statement. You can go on mute, my friend. And Patrick, your 2-minute opening statement starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen of ColorCast, although Chet Holmgren was 7 foot, and Jabari Smith is 6'10", Jabari Smith per NBA Draft.net is projected, and rightfully so, is the number 1 draft selection by the Orlando Magic. His player comparisons are Chris Bosh and Rashard Lewis, which I would take over to scrawny Chet Holmgren's player comparison of Kristaps Porzingis. Furthermore, in the 2021-2022 NCAA college basketball season, Jabari Smith played in a more competitive SEC conference to the lesser competition of Holmgren, who played in the top-heavy West Coast Conference. He still averaged more points per game than Chet with a respectable 16.9 points per game, whereas Chet Holmgren only averaged 14.1 points per game. Albeit marginally, Jabari Smith also had more assists per game at 2.0 to Holmgren's 1.9. So you have a big man in Jabari who could offer better facilitating skills to the Orlando Magic. Furthermore, Jabari Smith is better at stealing the ball with 1.1 steals a game. In contrast to Holmgren, who had 0.8, Jabari Smith is a better fit than Chet Holmgren because they already have a young center in the likes of Mo Bamba, and the Orlando Magic are in need of a preternaturally gifted power forward. Chet Holmgren isn't much of an upgrade over Mo Bamba. Jabari Smith, who can step in and contribute right away, plus Holmgren's weight, if he were to play hybrid minutes at power forward center, could be an issue. Chet will get bullied around by Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis. Jabari Smith is the best player in the draft, and a free and D do everything power forward. Furthermore, Chet Holmgren doesn't get fully interactive on screens and shies away from contact, which hampers the amount of space he can get from his defender. Jabari Smith needs to go first. The Thunder could be better suited for Chet Holmgren since they have a lot of young
10 seconds
already. Jabari Smith is a great defender. He's versatile, can switch 1 through 5 as an on-ball defender on the perimeter, and also holds his own on the post. I yield my time.
All right, and right at the buzzer is Patrick. Thank you. Thank you both for your opening statements. You both may come off with mute, and your 10 minutes of crossfire starts now. Light them up.
Jabari Smith shows good field as a help defender as well at Wolmer, averaging 1.5 steals per game and around a block per game. Jabari will not be susceptible to hack-a-shack techniques by NBA defenses, as Jabari Smith at Auburn shot 80% from free-throw line.
All right. There's one really big fact in there that I think you really left out about Jabari Smith's offense. He is way too one-dimensional. 65% of his shots last year were jump shots. Less than 25% came within 4 feet. He's a guy that hates being physical and drawing contact. He hates it. He is strictly one-dimensional. This is also a guy that struggles making defenses rotate and switch off of him.
Also not true. He can guard 1 through 5, and he can also play. He can guard either position at forward in his young career. In positionless basketball, he could even spend some time as an undersized center. And he one thing I'll give you. Although his rebounds were only 16.2%, that's a misnomer, as Jabari Smith is playing with elite big men at Auburn and Walker Kessler. Kristen Peak of Yahoo Sports commented the following pertaining to Jabari Smith. Smith is still the safest option at number 1 and has interviewed incredibly well for teams at the top. He's not the consensus overall top pick, but he has upsides incredible with his 3-point shooting, averaging 42% from deep, and his footwork in the paint. Magic should take Jabari Smith. It's as simple to him being able to step in and fill needs already. Orlando is an organization struggling for years, taking the best player available in the draft in Jabari Smith. And Jabari Smith is the safest choice as the best overall player in the 2022 NBA draft. The Magic need a power forward who can score and help out right away. Smith is a big man who can shoot 42% from the free. Although Holmgren was impressive in his first and only season at Gonzaga, the only season of Jabari Smith at Auburn was more impressive. Smith averaged 16.9 points and 7.4 rebounds in his one-and-done season at Auburn, shooting 43% from the field and 42% from three-point range. Also in the SEC against tougher competition that Chet had to play, playing in the SEC conference.
Let me cut in here real quick and just remind you guys that you don't have to let someone go on for like 30, 45 seconds. This is a debate show.
Him read off paper.
Well,
that's all I'm letting him do. But he's leaving out a lot of the negatives of Jabari Smith. But here's the one thing about Chet Holmgren. Yes,
go ahead, tell us.
He is lanky in size, weighing only $195, being 7 foot tall. But he is going to be a project that the Orlando Magic are going to build around. He is going to make the Orlando Magic better in every
I'm a Pistons fan. Category. He looks like the next Darko.
Well, do you want to know where the Orlando Magic ranked in a lot of important categories that Chet?
Well, let me tell you something. First of all, before we kick off of this, let me tell you about something that can make Jabari Smith contribute right away. Because he did play tougher competition than your boy Holmgren. Against teams that were ranked in the AP top 25 facing Auburn, Smith averaged 20.8 points and 6.4 rebounds. But one thing that's great about him is Jabari Smith can come in as a plug-and-play starting power forward for the Orlando Magic should he be drafted number 1 overall. Because of his two-way game, not one-way game, Smith flourishes defensively, and it would be wise for the Orlando Magic to pick him number 1. And the edge should go to him because of his defense. The SEC where Jabari
Chet
Smith
Holmgren
Jr.
is a much better defensive player. You're talking about steals. There's a difference of
competition
that does not make much of a difference. Chet Holmgren can be anywhere on the floor. He literally averaged almost 4 blocks per game last year. Did you want to know what? The Orlando Magic in all defensive categories on the bottom third of the NBA. They were almost dead last in steals, dead last in blocks. They were almost dead last in point differential. Jabari Smith, yes, he could make a difference, but there's no player that's going to have a bigger impact than Chet Holmgren because of his versatility to guard both point guards, centers, power forwards, small forwards, anybody in the NBA because of the way he can move.
He's a project, and I'll give you that, and that's the only thing I'm going to give you from what you said. Jabari Smith showed up in his only season in Auburn, racking up such accolades as SEC Freshman of the Year, All SEC First Team, Second Team All-American. Jabari Smith Jr. was a statistical marvel at Auburn in this 2021-2022 NCAA basketball season, finishing top 5 in the SEC in scoring, 60.9 points per game, made free-point field goals, 79, player efficiency rating, 25.0, and box plus minus at 11.1, and defensive rebounding percentage, 23.5. And Jabari Smith is a versatile defender that should be able to guard multiple positions at the NBA at the next level right away, something that NBA front office executives covet. In the ever-increasing positionless basketball NBA era, Jabari Smith, who although is best suited for the Orlando Magic's number 1 positional need of power forward, could immediately contribute in positionless basketball schemes, as Jabari Smith should be able to defend either forward position early in his career, with the possibility, depending on how much weight strength he can add to his frame, of filling in at times as a small ball center as well.
Hey, Pat.
Let me cut in here a little bit and try to break up the cadence on this debate. We got about 4 minutes left here. Which player, Wolmer, I'll go to you first. Why do you see that do you feel as your player has a higher ceiling than Jabari Smith, and why?
Chet Holmgren is the higher ceiling because of the fact that he's going to be a project they're going to build around. Let's remind that the Orlando Magic are nowhere near contenders or playoff position next year. They're going to need a team that they can build around and know that there will be a project in the waiting. Jalen Suggs drafted last year was a project. Chet Holmgren is going to be a project. They're going to make and build muscle mass.
But Jabari Smith is not a project. He's the real thing, and he's right now. In such notable
but the Magic are a team that's going to be a project to build. They are not a team that's ready to go out.
Here's something. Wolmer, I love you, but such notable publications agree with me that Jabari Smith should be drafted number 1 overall. by the
Okay,
Magic.
but
Having
Pat,
Jeremy Woo, Sports Illustrated, right?
this is opinionated. This is not going off of what you read online. You got to give your own insights, bud.
I have been giving my own insights, and I've been high on
You're
this guy
reading
from the
off
beginning.
paper.
You only chose Chet because I chose Jabari. I know you. My gut feeling remains
I've been
the
high on Chet
Orlando
Holmgren because
Magic
the fact that
plan
he's
on Smith
a
was
very
both
lanky guy that can
excellent
play any
fit
position. He can play
with
any
the
position. You
roster
can plug him anywhere. But
and
you
a
look at the
potential
rest of
culture
the Orlando
shifting
Magic team.
player.
Cole Anthony
Well,
project.
he's a culture.
Franz
Well,
Wagner
Jabari is a
project.
culture-setting player for a Magic team still establishing its identity.
This is he's
Also,
still establishing identity. Jabari Smith is not going to make that team much better because of his one-dimensional offense with the fact that he is a big-time jump shooter.
well,
The
Smith is
Orlando
younger
Magic
than Jabari
was
Smith
the
by
third
a
worst
meaningful
team in points
margin, and he's
inside the
already
paint.
more polished. And there's a lot of plus attributes that Jabari brings to the table: great positional size, jump shooting, modern defensive versatility, and a competitive mindset. He is also a 19-year-old who just spent only 1 year at Auburn.
Okay, so Chet
Where
Holmgren spent 1 year at Gonzaga. It doesn't
Yeah,
prove
but
your
he did
point.
better. He
But here's
averaged
the difference. Here's the
17.4,
difference of the two
7.4
players.
rebounds, and 2 assists.
Patrick, here's the difference between the two players. Chet Holmgren is able to
Is
help
worse.
any
I
ways in
agree.
offense. He's a good facilitator on the floor who's able to go pick and roll type play,
He averaged less
where he's
assists
able
than
to set the
Jabari.
screen and go inside the paint, where his lengthy wingspan is able to go up and over defenders, which can help the Magic
He's
with
a
points
shies
inside the
away from
paint, where they were the
contact, and he's
third worst
afraid.
team. He's also a very reliable three-point shooter, where he was 39% from deep. Let's also not forget this guy shot
Jabari Smith is in the
60%
40s from deep,
from the
so you
field.
get a better player in Jabari.
He was 60% from the field last year in college.
He's not
saying a lot.
60%
130 remaining, gentlemen. 130.
It's a lot saying the fact that the Orlando Magic were one
where
of
in
the worst
college,
offensive
Jabari
teams
Smith
last year in
averaged
the NBA.
7.4 points, 7.4 rebounds, and 2 assists. Also, Jabari Smith has in his bag a high, smooth shooting release that is near impossible to contest with a 6'10" frame. Smith should not have any problem getting good looks over smaller defenders at the next level. They say defense wins championships, and Jabari Smith Jr. possesses a rare combination of quickness, length, and basketball IQ that has the makings of future all-defensive team selections. Also, according to Bedside, for all of you bettors out there, for the 2022 NBA Draft, number one picks odds open as the betting favorite. Jabari open to be the betting favorite for the number one overall pick in the NBA Draft, which is held on Thursday, June 23rd, 2022. Draft Express reported that league sources are indicating Smith will go first a few weeks back, and money has poured
30
in
seconds.
on Smith, making him a massive favorite. Also, Jabari Smith has already attracted the attention of the Orlando Magic. Jabari Smith does a pre-draft workout for the Orlando Magic. Jabari Smith Jr. of Auburn should be drafted number one overall by the Orlando Magic.
10 seconds.
Pat, you keep talking about what other people are thinking. That's not saying a lot because rumors are rumors until they really happen.
I've seen both of them.
And on that note, that'll be it for the Crossfire segment. Thank you, gentlemen. Patrick, you have a 2-minute closing statement starting now.
All right. Going back to what we were saying earlier, Jabari Smith should be drafted number one overall by the Orlando Magic because he can step in and contribute right away as a free and do everything power forward. He can contribute defensively by being able to guard both effectively the small forward and the power forward position, and in spades, the center. He has a spacing ability unlike any of the quotation mark big three in this 2022 NBA draft. For people who are wondering what that means, it means Pavel Banchero, Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith, as they're all big men projected to be drafted in the top three. And also, too, he has one of the more impressive offensive repertoires, and the game is about scoring more buckets than the other team. Jabari Smith can do that in droves as opposed to Chet. He also has a good report already going with the Orlando Magic.
1 minute remaining.
The team scheduled to draft number one overall, as Jabari has already met up with them. Jabari Smith, for a plethora of reasons, whether it could be due to tougher competition he had to face in the SEC, or whether it be due to its versatility, is miles upon miles ahead of the curve of Chet Holmgren, who I will agree with Wolmer is a project, but he's just that. And sometimes projects don't come to fruition where the polished thing does. And the polished thing, ladies and gentlemen, is the future great player that is Jabari Smith Jr. out of Auburn. I wouldn't be lying to you. I picked this pick with my mind, not my heart, because I truly believe in my mind that Jabari Smith Jr. is the man for the job for Orlando.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Is that my time?
Okay. Patrick cut out for a second for me on my end. Apologies. All right, Wolmer, your 2-minute closing statement starts now.
The Orlando Magic have a very interesting case to take either one of these guys, but Chet Holmgren is going to be the most important player when they look into this draft. He can fill the needs of almost every single important category that really hurt this team last year. Offensively, he is multidimensional, able to shoot from behind the arc at great precision, and able to score points inside the paint, which they were both bottom 5 in the NBA. Defensively, he's able to go anywhere on the floor and able to guard anybody that he needs to. He's very quick on his feet, still very physical, and despite the fact that he only weighs $195, does not take away from his competitive level and able to guard and block shots when the team needs to. Let's not forget that when the games mattered most, he was able to show up on both sides of the floor. You can't say the same about Jabari Smith. Jabari Smith struggled offensively when the games mattered most, especially against number 10 Miami back when in 2 versus 10 game. He shot abysmally in that game because he couldn't deal with the double teams that were sent at him. Teams are going to see that. They are going to send it at him. Send them
1 minute remaining.
And when you look at the rest of the team around him, like Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, and Wendell Carter Jr., who I think will be the other 4 around him, it's going to make things very easy for other defenses to work. Chet Holmgren is able to spread the floor better than anybody in this draft at his position. He is able to help anywhere he needs to. He's able to be that guy that could be that spark and plug play down the line. And that's going to be a team that you're going to want to play with. Jabari Smith is not in a position where he's going to be able to help this Orlando Magic team. He's not a great facilitator on the floor. He's not going to be able to get the ball to the other players like Chet Holmgren will. Both these players turn the ball over at 1.9 times
15 seconds,
which does make a big difference. But the big difference needs to come with Chet Holmgren's ceiling, which is sky high because that's just the kind of prospect he is and the all-around player that makes him much better than Jabari Smith, who, might I say again, cannot score inside the paint. He's not a guy that likes to draw contact.
All right, and that is time. Go ahead and drop
I have so much words I gotta say that I'm not gonna say, but Wolmer, I love debating you. I can't wait for cool him down. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, poll is now open for voting.
Team Jabari Smith for life, though, regardless of how this debate goes. I already have his tattooed on me. I'm just kidding, I don't.
And we are deadlocked here, 50% each, 4 votes. I'm starting my vote timer. So we usually allot 2 minutes for voting. And, okay, it looks like C-Mac said he's not going to vote since he just joined. I appreciate that. Well, if C-Mac's not voting, there are 12 of you all in here, -1. That makes it 11. Wolmer will win this one in a nail-biter, 6-5 with Chet Holmgren.
He maybe won the debate, but I'm going to win the draft. Jabari's getting drafted #1 overall. Wolmer, I'll take a rematch any day to Sun. You only won by 1. I feel pretty good in the rematch. All right.
Okay.
Thank you for debating me, my friend.
Hey, GG's, Pat.
Hi, I'm PatrickRuch, host of Patrick's Happy Hour, weekdays from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about everything. Keep on tuning in to light 'em up.
Very intense debate to get us started tonight. And Wolmer has now started his gauntlet. He will now go into the second leg of his debate up against JG3. He will be making his Season 2 debut here on Light 'em Up. So let me set the stage for this one. So again, our second contest tonight, we'll be identifying the most important players heading into the Stanley Cup Final. For Wolmer, one of those players is none other than Pavel Francouz, whose Colorado Avalanche have been lying in wait after dispatching the Oilers in 4 straight games. And Francouz playing a large factor in their success that series, especially with his 24-save performance in Game 2 of the Western Conference Final. He'll also be making a case for Keumper, who the starting goalie usually for the Avs, who may be making his return here in the final starting this week. And again, for his opponent in this debate, making his Season 2 debut, JG3, believes the Russian dynamic duo of goalie Andrei Vasilevsky and right winger Nikita Kucherov of the Tampa Bay Lightning are the most important players in their team's quest to hoist their third consecutive Stanley Cup. I welcome both gentlemen to the show at this time. And Wolmer, you will get to choose to start or defer, given that you have more wins this season. What do you choose?
I would love to kick off and go first so I can be the last one to go.
All right. So with that being said, JG3, you can go on mute, my friend. And Wolmer, your 2-minute opening statement starts now.
Looking at this series, both teams on paper are dead even. Fantastic offenses. Defenses that will shut anybody down. The big difference comes with the goaltending. Now, originally when I made my decision, it was for Pavel Francouz. But all that I've been bringing today is the fact is Darcy Keumper is feeling 100%, and they don't know if he's going to be ready exactly for game one because of the amount of time he missed, which is why I kind of combined them. Because the difference in this series is going to come down to the goaltending. You have probably the best goalie in the world in Andrei Vasilevsky, and then you got Darcy Keumper and Pavel Francouz, who have never made it this far at all in their careers. They haven't made it to the conference finals. And they're in a position right now where they're going to have to stand on their heads to win the Cup Finals, going against the two-headed monster in the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are looking to three-peat. We haven't seen a three-peat team since, I believe, the Islanders back in the 80s. If I'm wrong, somebody please let me know in the chat. It could also be the Penguins, but I think they only won 2 in a row back in the 90s. But you're looking at Keumper and Francouz, who have combined for a 12-2 record, but their goals against averages are not in a great position. They're 265 for Keumper, 286 for Francouz. Save percentages, not great either. It's 89.7 for Keumper and a 90.6 for Francouz. So you're going to be looking at two goaltenders who are going to be bidding for that game one opportunity and potentially might need to switch based on the play of the Tampa Bay Lightning, who take 32 and a half shots per game. And when they really shut things down, they're going to be a tough team to bid against. So your goaltenders are going to need to stand on their head to win this series. I could see my time.
All right. Thank you for that opening statement, Wolmer. JG3, you can come off of mute, my friend, and your 2-minute opening statement starts now.
All right, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me. So in my opinion, I think Kucherov and Vasilevsky are the two most important players going into this final round. As Wolmer already stated, these guys are going for their third straight Stanley Cup, and they've won 11 straight playoff series when you combine the last 2 years and the past 3 that they've just won. So these guys have been here before. They have the experience. They know what it takes to win. They're driven to win. And I feel like Kucherov, he's one of those guys where just when you think you have the Lightning on the ropes, he comes out with an amazing pass, amazing assist or goal, and it's just clutch. And they find ways to win games when you think they're not going to win. They just find a way to win. And that's what great teams do. That's what great players do. The Colorado Avalanche have done amazing so far this postseason, but they have faced nothing like Andrei Vasilevsky. Even Igor Shesterkin of the New York Rangers, whom the Tampa Bay Lightning just played, said that Vasilevsky is the greatest goaltender in the world. And he just had an amazing season himself, the best of his career so far. So that's high praise coming from Shesterkin, and I just don't see how Colorado can get past them. You may make the argument that they have a high-powered offense, which they do with McKinnon and Landeskog, but Vasilevsky, especially when Tampa Bay has an opportunity to close out a series or close out a game, he always stands on his head, comes out on top, and in elimination games like this last one, he only allowed 1 goal. And I believe he's going to bring his A game in this final series and make it very, very difficult for Colorado, and they will three-peat. I'm not sure how much time I have left.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're about 10 seconds left there. Right, you were right on time. All right. Well, thank you both for those great opening statements. 10 minutes of Crossfire starts now. Light them up.
All right, well, let me get this clear right now. I do agree with JG3 saying that Tampa Bay is going to three-peat, and that's because of the talent they have. But that is exactly why Keumper and Francouz are going to be the most important players in the series, because they're going to need to play on the top of their heads to stop the demons coming at him, like Victor Hedman, Nikita Kucherov, Steven Stamkos, who I still think is one of the best goal scorers in the game today, despite the fact that he hasn't been scoring as many goals as I expected him in this postseason. Andre Palat, Corey Perry, who was a pest in front of the net. Braden Point, who was supposedly is ready to go game one, but we expect him to be ready to go in last series. And, well, I have no idea. He should be ready to go. And they also got Nick Paul, who's actually, even though he's playing on third and fourth line time, he's actually been taking a lot of shots on net. So you're going to be looking at two guys that need to find a way to play out of their minds to help try keep them in the series. Because yes, Vasilevsky is going to be tough to beat. He is the best goalie in the world today. There is no questions to it. The guy is just absolutely unreal. The moment you think he's out of it, he will play on the top of his head and surrender 1 goal a game, which is just out of this world. He is a 2.27 goals against average this postseason. But that's why Keumper and Francouz are the most important players in the series, because that's the biggest difference is the goaltending. We know that forwards matched up. It's almost dead even. Agree or disagree, GG3?
As far as forwards are concerned, yeah.
Defenses, pretty similar to say the least, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So the biggest difference comes with the goaltending, which you have the best goalie in the world, and you got two guys that are bidding for game one time because you have no idea who you're going to play. You got two guys that aren't necessarily considered great goalies playing against the team that's going for the three-peat. That's what makes them the most important players in this series. You know your offenses are going to do their job. Defenses are going to do their job. You just need your goaltenders to do your job. You just don't know if Colorado is going to be that team, which makes it so important for Keumper and Francouz to be that most important key factor in the series.
Yeah, with Tampa Bay, I feel like with Kucherov specifically, before I go into Vasilevsky, he just has that calm in the middle of a storm. It doesn't matter what's going on around the team. We've seen, even though Tampa Bay has won 11 straight series, we've seen them face adversity. And Kucherov seems to just have that calm presence and knows how to set up a play, whether he scores the goal himself or has an assist and makes a pass to get the clutch goal to put the team ahead. And I feel like that can be discouraging for other teams. And that's why he's such an important part, the most important part of their offense, in my opinion. And Vasilevsky, he has the ability to discourage the top scorers of every team that they face, especially when he's on his game and he's stingy in that net. And even if the other team is out shooting them and he doesn't allow any goals, that's discouraging. You see the frustration from opposing players when they can't score on Vasilevsky. I actually read an amazing stat earlier that he has a .945 save percentage in games where the Lightning have a chance to eliminate their opponent. That's not even when they're down and they're facing elimination, but when they have the opportunity to eliminate their opponent. You know, when you have an opportunity to eliminate your opponent, sometimes you can get lax because you think you have it in the bag and the other team comes out with desperation. But Tampa Bay doesn't react that way. They still keep their foot on the gas, even if they're ahead in the series. And so does Vasilevsky. He gets even stingier when facing those type of situations.
See, that's what makes the play of Keumper and Francouz so much more important, because you know that when Tampa keeps their foot in the pedal, they can do wonders. Let's not forget the fact that they were down 2-0 in Game 3. They were down 2-0 in the series. They were trailing. They didn't let the fact that New York was up on them and really controlling the series get to them. They were able to pound 52 shots on net in that game. 3 were able to be Shesterkin, 1 in the final minute. You need to know that your goaltending is going to be able to be the most important factor in the series. Colorado doesn't have that, but you know that is going to be the most important thing to them is going to be their goaltending, which makes them the biggest impact players in the series. They played really well. You're really looking at a stingy series, but if they're off their game and continue to give a lot of goals and pucks fly by them, which they have surrendered 5 or more goals in 3 of their past 6 games, despite the fact that you're here, it's going to be a long series for them, which is why they are the biggest impact players that are going to be in the series, because either they're going to be good and keep them in the series, or they're going to be bad and all of a sudden Tampa Bay is winning, and that's just bad impact.
Yeah, and I feel like Tampa Bay, you know, they could lose the series if Vasilevsky were to get shaky all of a sudden and get out of his game.
And we all know that's not happening.
Yeah, with the consistency that he's playing with, I don't see that happening.
5 minutes.
I feel like
5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like he's going to continue to have that dominant presence. In the 3 games that the Lightning were able to put the other team on the brink this postseason, he has a .980 save percentage. He stopped 99 out of 101 shots when they have the opportunity to eliminate another team this postseason. And I just feel like that's going to carry over, and that can discourage Nathan MacKinnon, possibly. If they're putting up a high number of shots, that can discourage Landeskog and Rantanen and all these top offensive talent that they have on the Colorado Avalanche. And that's why I feel like he's the most important player in this series, because the other team has so much firepower. If you can just discourage them and make them feel like they can't score on you, or it's like pulling teeth to try to score on you, then that will have an effect on the series. And Vasilevsky can take over the whole entire series in that way. And we're witnessing something that we haven't really seen in a long time, because everyone talks about how the Tampa Bay Lightning have a chance to three-peat, which will be the first time since 1985 when the Edmonton Oilers did it. But that's a tribute to.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I remember you brought that up earlier. But yeah, that's a tribute to Vasilevsky as well. I'm 33 years old, so I wasn't even alive in 1985. I wasn't even thought of. So we're seeing something that I have never ever seen in my lifetime in all my years of watching hockey. And Vasilevsky is something special, and he's putting on a postseason performance these past 3 years that I have never seen because of the consistency.
All right, but here's a fun fact that I'd love to bring out back with the last two teams that three-peated. You got the Islanders who actually four-peated, something that we're never going to see again unless miracles happen, and the Oilers. Their goaltending wasn't necessarily great. You look back at the series that they had, Grant Fuhrer, goals against averages of well over 3, was barely saving 85% of the shots. But no goaltender on the other team was able to have an impact that would help keep them in the series. Same thing with the Islanders. I believe their goalie was Billy Smith, who I still don't necessarily think was a great goalie. He was playing on really good Islander teams. And the other goaltending wasn't able to stop their firepowers of guys like Mike Bossy, who is definitely a top 3 pure goal scorer of all time. You're really looking at this series with Colorado goaltending going to need to be the difference maker in this series, because I don't see how you look at that offense and defense of Tampa that everybody gets involved and say that they're not going to be that team. They are that team. They're going to need to find a way to be the impact against the impact of the goaltending. Francouz and Keumper are going to need to be the impact makers in this series, because the moment you make a big save, it applies energy to your team.
2 minute warning.
You don't necessarily get the same from Vasilevsky because, well, the team plays good no matter what. Colorado only plays as good as their goaltending, and that's why those are the biggest impact players of this series.
Yeah, those teams in the 80s, those Edmonton Oilers teams, the goaltending wasn't as big as a factor as you said. But I don't think that's a reflection of this team, because they're two totally different teams. You know, those Oilers teams, they had Mark Messier, Wayne Gretzky, all these great players, and goaltending wasn't really as good, honestly, back in those days as it is now. So Vasilevsky plays more of a prominent role in this Tampa Bay Lightning team and with what they're doing. And Kucherov, of the both teams remaining, Colorado and Tampa Bay, Kucherov has the most points out of any offensive player coming into this series. And he doesn't have to score a lot of goals. If Vasilevsky does what he's supposed to do and stands on his head, he just needs to come up with one. He needs to come up with one pass or for one assist or one goal to turn the series around, and they could win a 1-0 game and steal a game. They can win these low-scoring games if they have to. It's not going to be an offensive shootout like it was with Colorado when they were playing the Edmonton Oilers. This series is going to have a way different feel than some of the series that they've had in this postseason. And they have not faced anything like Vasilevsky yet. So it'll be fun to watch and interesting to see what happens with this matchup. But I just think out of all the positions in hockey, if you have a great goaltender that can steal games and dominate, that's the most important position to have that in, because it's easy to discourage the other teams that way when the goaltender is standing on his head and doing what he has to do. And even the other great goaltenders in the NHL believe Vasilevsky is the most dominant goalie.
All right. And that is time for Crossfire. That was intense. That was an intense, very informative Crossfire segment. So thank you, gentlemen, both for that. Wolmer, I'll invite you to go on mute for just a moment. JG3, your closing statement. 2 minutes. Closing statement starts now.
All right, appreciate it. So yeah, I'm at the point now with all of these wins that Vasilevsky and these Tampa Bay Lightning keep pulling out, and they keep winning just when you think they're down. I'm at the point now where I'm just like, I'll believe it when I see it that somebody can beat them. I'll believe it when I actually see it that somebody that can beat Vasilevsky right now and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I had to learn the hard way about betting against the Tampa Bay Lightning and bet against Vasilevsky. Even in my playoff bracket this year, he ruined my playoff bracket because I chose the Rangers in the last series. But even when they were down 2-0, he reminds you of why you don't bet against them. They remind you of how great of a team they are, how balanced they are. And Kucherov continues to be clutch. He brings that grit. Even though he's a skilled player, he can bring that grit and determination that I think is infectious in the locker room and is infectious on the rest of his teammates. So, yeah, I mean, we keep going team after team after team after team these past 3 years of people who think they could finally do it or think that they will host the Cup. But I will believe it when I actually see it, because until I actually see it, they're just going to keep on rolling. And I feel like Vasilevsky is going to keep rolling in this postseason series, and that could carry into even next year. Who knows? Because I'm at that point where I'm not betting against Vasilevsky anymore. He's shown his consistency, and he actually plays even better when his team is ahead in the series and has a chance to eliminate their opponent. And that's very rare, because usually teams get lax and they tend to lose games when the other team is more desperate. So for me, it's that combination of Kucherov to give you that one goal if you need it, those 1 or 2 goals, or to set up a nice pass to put his team ahead, while Vasilevsky does his part in the net to just be stingy and not allow very many goals. And that's been the recipe for success for the past 3 years. And that's why they're on the most historic run that I've ever seen in my entire life, of my 33 years on this earth.
And that is time. Thank you, JG3, for your closing statement. Wolmer, your 2-minute closing statement starts now.
Alrighty. When you look at this Colorado team, they have been on rest for quite some time. And we have seen it time and time again that when a team has a lot of rest, they come out shaky in the next series. Tampa just had it happen to them in the first 2 games when they lost to New York. The goaltending wasn't good for them. Vasilevsky had cracks in the armor in a game where you have 6 goals. The next game, he gave up 2 weekies, which is why Keumper and Francouz kind of are those impact players, because you have home ice advantage in this series. You need to take advantage of it. You're going against a very, very good Tampa Bay Lightning team that will pile shots on net. They will score goals at will when they want to, but they will keep their pedal to the metal. You got to be able to keep up with it. These 2 teams did match up twice this year. I made sure to go look back. Tampa outshot them twice. Their first matchup, 32-27. Colorado won in a shootout 4-3. The second time they matched up was back in February on the 10th. Tampa outshot Colorado 47-38. The biggest difference in that game was Keumper, who made 45 saves in a 3-2 win. That is continuing my statement of why Keumper is the biggest impact player, because you're going to need him to stand on top of his head and make all these saves with a bunch of saves each game. There are going to be times you're going to face 40-plus shots a game. You got to be able to be that difference maker that is going to impact your team and give them a chance to win a game. You can say the same about Tampa, but when you look at the differences in the goalie styles, Vasilevsky is much better than Keumper, and Kemper is going to need to be the impact guy. So is Francouz, who has not faced a team with this much firepower, I think, all postseason. You can say Edmonton was that guy,
10 seconds.
But Edmonton had the 3 scores of Kane, Draisaitl, and McDavid. McDavid scored 3, Kane scored 1, Draisaitl didn't score any. So that was the big impact to help them sweep at the Edmonton Oilers.
All right, and that is time. Gentlemen. While I get the voting set up here, well, actually, no, because I don't want your answers to influence. I was going to ask who you guys got winning this series.
Oh, we both already said Tampa. So
you both said Tampa. Okay, I missed that part.
I said Tampa back
last
series.
Yeah, I heard him.
Okay. All right, let me just go and pull the voting link here. Where'd it go? Okay. My apologies. Let's see here. Here we go. Okay, so let me copy this into the chat. And we'll share that out, and let me open it up so you guys can vote. Okay, voting is now open, and while you guys are voting, quick programming note, Nelly is unfortunately unable to be with us on Cool 'em Down tonight, so I think Stone is saying no Cool 'em Down this evening. Let's see, I might, Stone, if you don't mind, I might just take the reins there, and I'll probably just keep this cast open for that. Let me know here in the chat. Okay, and voting is underway, tied at 7. My goodness. All right, let me see here. Go back to my timer here for voting. Okay, we got about a minute left. Oh, and Wolmer has pulled out ahead, 8-7. I'm gonna give this about another minute. Okay, so thanks, Stone. Stone is gonna let me run the show. Yeah, I do have some production updates for Light 'em Up to share, so definitely want to do that. Share that news with you guys. All right, we got about 30 seconds left to go here in voting. Wolmer is ahead 10-8. My listener count only shows 13, and this tool doesn't allow people to vote multiple times. So looks like we have more listeners here than Colorcast is reporting, which I'm not complaining about. I don't think we've had 18 listeners since we first started the show. So thank you all for coming back. I guess we're doing something right here. And with that being said, that is it for my timer for voting. Wolmer is going to win this one 10-8 over JG3. Very, very entertaining debate, gentlemen. I thank you both for that.
Yeah, good job, Wolmer. It's always fun debating with you, man.
Hey guys, it's LilySchu. When I'm not debating, you can find me hosting Pitches Be Crazy every Thursday night at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, and co-hosting Bat Flips and Chill with John Ball every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, live on Colorcast. Thank you so much for listening to Light 'em Up. Now, let's get back to the action.
Okay. All right. As a producer, I'm not going to lie. I'm biased. I'm kind of glad this is played out the way it has, because we are now here for our third and final debate. And again, the intrigue has built. So with Wolmer winning this debate, he is now 7-2-0 all time. LilySchu is now, actually, I want to correct myself earlier. She actually does have the best record all time. She's tied with Blake and Easy Money Nelly with 8 wins apiece, but she only has 2 losses versus 3 for Easy Money Nelly and 5 for Blake. So she actually does have the best record as it stands now. I have to look at the numbers after this, but if Wolmer wins, they will own joint ownership of the best record so far here in Light 'em Up of all time. And then Wolmer will have first place here in season 2 outright. So lots of intrigue here. Let me go ahead and get Lily invited up here, and let me set the stage for our third and final contest of the evening, which will be on the best performing pitchers so far. And with so much pressure around the shortened spring training impacting arms across the league, managers are desperate to find consistent, reliable arms more than ever. And our 2 debaters have identified 2 such arms to debate this evening as who has been the strongest pitcher so far this season. LilySchu, our season 1 champion, who's 2-2 this season, will be making her case for Miami Marlins starting pitcher Sandy Alcantara. And for his third and final performance tonight, Wolmer will make his case for Martin Perez of the Texas Rangers. Chivalry isn't dead here on Light 'em Up, so as per our show's rules with intergender matchups, Lily will get to choose whether to kick or defer, despite Wolmer having the better win percentage this season. And I welcome both to the show at this time. And I'm just waiting for Lily to jump into the seat here, and we'll get going. But yeah, very excited for this one. Lots at stake here, to say the least. And Lily, let me know if you're not seeing my invite request. I did send it out. Oh, you haven't gotten an invite? Okay, my apologies. Let me do that again. Invite a speaker. There she is. All right. Okay.
I'm here.
All right. So Lily, do you choose to start or defer?
If I start, I go last, correct?
Correct.
I'm starting.
Okay. Your 2-minute opening statement starts now.
At this point in the Major League Baseball season, we've seen about a third of the games played, so we're not quite to the halfway point. We're seeing a lot of good cases being presented for who is the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. Of course, we're kind of past that point where these stats aren't going to just be a fluke. There's a big enough sample size to get a good idea of how good these guys actually are. When I was looking at it time and time again, I came back to one name over and over and over and over again. Sandy Alcantara of the Miami Marlins has been putting out an unbelievable season, having been a young player, 26, who has been having a really high ceiling over the past couple of years. He finally has stepped into this role where he is performing as one of the top players in Major League Baseball, leading in many statistical categories, not only among pitchers, but also on all of baseball. And whether it is just his ground ball percentage, the ERA he holds, that's insanely low, a really wonderful whip, and just having a better head-to-head matchup against Martin Perez, he is doing everything and is showing in all of these different categories how he is a dominant pitcher in, a small market similar to Perez with him being at the Rangers. He is really showing himself and proving who he can be. He is doing everything above and beyond the expectations, is durable, and can bring a lot more to the table than any other pitcher right now. And I yield my time.
Short and sweet for the opening statement. Thank you, Lily. Wolmer, your 2 minutes of opening statement starts now.
And what was a busy offseason for the Texas Rangers, making some huge free agent splashes and making a couple trades. Martin Perez signed a very quiet 1-year, $4 million deal with the Texas Rangers, unknowing what his role was going to be. Was he going to be in the relief role that he finished up last year with the Red Sox? Would he be in the starting role, which he struggled in for like the past however many seasons up until this year? Little did we know that he was going to be in the starting role, the number 4 starter in the rotation for the Texas Rangers. And I really do think that Martin Perez has completely shocked the world, performing well above expectations, and has really transitioned into being one of the best pitchers in baseball, and so far, the best pitcher in baseball this year. Coming into today, he has had 12 starts, a 4-2 record, 9 quality starts, which was one of the most impressive stretches I have seen of a pitcher of his caliber. And all of a sudden, he really is proven to be the ace of the Texas Rangers.
1 minute.
He did have a bad start yesterday against Chicago, but everybody is prone to one bad start. But you're talking about a guy who has faced 6 winning teams in a total of 12 starts. He has faced 4 first-place teams in all those starts, too, beating all but one. Just like Alcantara, the team is 8-4 in his starts. But the fact is, when he's had a no decision, his ERA is at 1.09. Mind-boggling. He's also gotten very little run support, but the fact is, he's giving his team a chance to win games, hence the 8-4 record. And when in it starts, and continuously, he's going out there pitching 6 to 8 innings, including 1 complete game, and is putting his team in the right position to win. And this is coming from a guy nobody expected this from. And he's really coming into one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, at the age of 32, of course.
And right on time with the opening statement. Thank you, Wolmer. All right, Lily, you can come off of mute. Ladies and gentlemen, your 10 minutes of Crossfire starts now. Light them up.
Okay, something I want to kind of say right off the get-go is you mentioned, obviously, that you mentioned that Perez has had 12 starts, so has Sandy. That's something that they both have in common. They both have 9 quality starts, which is both very impressive. I decided to go through and look at all their starts and just see kind of where were each teams at when they played them, what were the guys that they pitched against, what were those matchups looking like in terms of, this quality schedule, because it's different when you're looking at it in retrospect or preseason. So at the point of each of these games, actually, Sandy Alcantara, he was basically played 6 teams that were over 500 and 6 under. And this is
What
again
teams were over 500? Because when you look at it, Giants
I wasn't finished yet.
were at 500.
I was not finished yet.
All
this
right.
is towards the technically at the end of the game. Can I finish talking about my stats first? Hey.
Ooh, okay. Let's Lily go ahead and finish your remarks. Go ahead.
Because I was in the middle of going through stats and listening about and explaining what I was doing there. So if you let me continue, it is either only compared to the first start, which was making it that record. Aside from that, it is prior to the game what the record was of each team. It is very similar, though, for Perez. I was going to say 5 teams were over 500 that they played, 6 under 500, and 1 at 500. So I just wanted to bring that up quickly.
Okay. But I did the exact same thing. The only teams with the winning record going into the games against Alcantara were the Cardinals back on the 20th, the Padres back on the 6th, and then the Giants back on, the 6th
Incorrect.
of May.
Arizona on, I think that's beginning of May.
End of beginning of May. So you're talking about
Merrill Kelly was the starter. 11th. Arizona was over 500 at that time, so that is incorrect.
Arizona was over 500. Okay, well,
yes.
All right, let's quickly just pull this up because I actually happen to have all those games open. You go to the box score. Look,
okay,
I'm on the Braves.
So you're
all right,
but you didn't believe me when I said it, so you have to all of a sudden sit here and fact check.
I had all those open.
So did I. I'm not saying you're lying. I'm just saying I know what I read. Merrill Kelly was the starter for this game.
Yep, and Merrill Kelly's having a good year too. Okay, I can see
I'm
your
not
point.
saying anything about Merrill Kelly. I'm just saying he was the starter of this game, May 11th.
You're talking about comparisons of how the different types.
It was May 11th.
I know.
I'm just addressing the win percentage because you were saying that they were playing more teams over 500. I was addressing that they've played very similar schedules in that regard. If you were going to say that playing the Nationals is at a disadvantage for the strength of Sandy Alcantara's pitching resume is all of a sudden making it worse. You also played a bad Oakland team. You've played a not so wonderful LA Angels team. I don't even want to say bring in the Mariners there or the White Sox because they're good teams that aren't just doing as well as they have been lately. I didn't want to bring that in. I was saying that this is pretty even competition in terms of what they've been doing.
You're saying the pretty even competition. Pretty even. So you bring up all right, so you just did bring up the competition. He's had 3 starts against one of the worst teams in all of baseball, the Washington Nationals.
And the Oakland A's aren't.
All the others aren't? Arizona.
No, I said the Oakland A's aren't.
Oh, Oakland. I heard others. My mistake. But you're talking about facing a good Houston team twice, Tampa Bay once, Seattle, a good hitting team still once.
Under 500 at the time.
I'm sorry?
Under 500 at the time. Same with Chicago, under 500 at the time.
Under 500 times, so yes, they're underperforming. They also faced the Phillies. Both guys faced the Phillies when they were.
Yes, and I've said that. That's what I was addressing. I was saying that it's not necessarily a perfect stat because there are people who are doing well. And no, Josh is number 1 fan. I will not stop yelling. Listen, let's just get away from that sort of statistic and move on to other things. We're talking about actually how they've been pitching so far this season. And again, depending on how you want to break it down, I don't like including win-losses because it feels sometimes like not a fair game there, especially because of no decisions.
I agree. Pitchers can sometimes pitch really well, but it doesn't matter what they do if they don't get the run support.
Yeah.
They're putting the teams a chance in which both pitchers have done. Yes.
Yep. Correct.
Okay. So I did bring up the fact that ERA and non-decisions for Martin Perez was 1.09, which is mind-boggling.
Which is fantastic. He still has a 0.218 ERA overall.
What you cut out my end. I couldn't hear what you just said, your last statement.
His ERA overall is still 2.18. It's important to note that too, if you're going to still be comparing just overall, record to this point.
There's no issue with that. Right. You can say that he had one really bad start. Yesterday.
I'm not adding that in there and saying that all of a sudden dismisses him as being a good player.
Okay.
I'm just talking about his cumulative ERA this season.
Cumulative ERA, yes.
Doesn't matter?
2.18. It doesn't matter. It's good. It's still really good. And there have been a lot of really good ERAs. And Alcantara is
1.61 is a good cumulative ERA, but I guess if it doesn't matter, I don't know what to say there.
Under 5 minutes to go.
It's really good.
I was basically bringing up stats because I was going to say that going in all these head-to-head categories, and this is including advanced stats, I can list out all of them here. I believe its overall is about 26 categories. Sandy Alcantara basically leads them 17-6-3 at this point in the season. And I can go through, it's listing quality starts where they tie, and it's mentioning that as well, but it feels important to note.
All right. Some of those stats, yes, they do tell a story, but there are many stats you probably have in those categories that don't tell as much as you really think.
I got rid of them.
I'm sorry? Wait, why don't you list the stats?
Any of the stats that I felt like weren't doing a fair enough job, I got rid of.
And I can tell you which ones kind of don't tell a story. Why don't we
do you want me to read all of them?
Read the categories. Don't read the stats.
Okay. I also want to say, though, too, I did do a separate category talking about the percentage of what type of ball was hit. So I did line drive percentage, ground ball percentage, fly ball percentage, and hard hit percentage, but those are all separate because I didn't feel like it was fair.
And I'm pretty sure line drive percentage goes into fly ball percentage as well. So yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Like I said, I didn't really want to put it in there, but I just did anyway. Win-loss, ERA, games started, complete games, which I should note. Also, Martin Perez pitched a complete game shutout. Sandy Alcantara only pitched a complete game, so I gave Martin the edge there. Innings pitched, hits, runs, earned runs, home runs, walks, strikeouts, batters faced, fielding percentage, or basically the percentage of where FIP, whatever, whip, home runs per 9, hits per 9, walks per 9, strikeouts per 9, WAR, batting average, opponent batting average, OPB, slugging, OPS, quality start, WPA.
Right. I did want to bring up the fact that you brought up walks, strikeouts, and a few other categories.
Yes.
You named up a lot there. A lot of those don't tell the story of how good pitchers really have been this season. Martin Perez, yes, aren't as flashy as Alcantara's. The strikeouts is not flashy, but pitchers' jobs is to go out there and get the job done and put his team in a winning position.
Yeah.
Perez has done that phenomenally, and it's in a different type of mentality. He's going out there throwing strikes. A lot more ground balls and fly balls have been put off of him because he's throwing strikes. He hasn't faced as many hitters because of this position he's being put in with the Texas Rangers, where they keep him under a pitch count, and he still is able to go 6, 7, 8 innings. He's only surpassed 100 pitches 3 times this season, and that's because he's putting the team in the winning position, and then they go off to the bullpen.
And I agree. I think it's really important to take note of that
2-minute warning
and how long a pitcher is able to go. Sandy Alcantara does the same thing. I know he usually tends to go 6 innings as a minimum, 7 innings is what he usually goes or beyond. He's already done a complete game, as we've previously talked about. You're continuing to bring up durability, and it's important to address that they both do this extremely well. The other thing is, too, that their ground ball percentage is almost identical. Alcantara's is 53.7, while Martin Perez is at 15.4, or 53.7 to 53.4. So again, basically even. Fly ball for Sandy versus Martin, 19.6%, 22.8%. So again, just slightly different. They're all extremely similar. So you can't just say that all of a sudden, because Sandy can strike out more guys, that all of a sudden it means that he's not getting those strikes and pitches in the zone. He is.
I never said that. I never said that. I just
in the final minute we have here. Let me throw this question out.
Yes.
Why does your player have a better run towards the Cy Young based off their performance this season so far? Do they remain consistent? Do they continue to move forward and win the Cy Young?
Yes.
I think that we're both in the same position where they're going to help keep teams afloat in the wild card race. Neither the Marlins or the Rangers are going to be a team that wins their division.
No.
Agree or disagree?
Oh, agree. I think we both can.
So I think what puts us both in that position is both these pitchers remaining consistent and putting their teams in a chance to win. I think right now the harder position right now is going to lie with the Rangers because of the amount of really good teams in the AL and the fact that Perez is going to have to remain this good to continue the rest of the year. The Rangers don't have another good starting pitcher. He's really been putting this team in their position right now because of how well he's pitching. You can't say the same about Alcantara. Pablo Lopez has been equally just as good. If not, he started better and has kind of regressed more and more as the season's moved along and has shown a couple signs of the fact that he's a little bit injured.
Lily, I'll give you the last 15 to respond to that.
Okay. Yeah, no, so essentially the thing that I would like to address there is that, of course, it does help to have somebody like Trevor Rogers, Pablo Lopez, etc., but also he is in a place where he is doing things that are above a level of the other pitchers on the Marlins, and he's facing a very difficult AL East, which you said there's a lot of difficult teams to play in the NL. Same goes for the AL. They're not going to be in any easier of a spot either or, but I can do more of that in my closing statement.
All right. Yeah. Thank you guys for indulging me there. I gave you a little bit more time in the crossfire to answer the Cy Young question, so thanks for that. Wolmer, your 2-minute closing statement starts now.
All right. So the biggest statement here is the fact that Perez has been that dominant guy that the Rangers have been looking for the past few years, and it's become so surprisingly. Martin Perez has turned into this team's ace despite being named the number 4 starter to begin the year. He's been given little to no help outside of what he has done, and yet the Rangers are still just outside the wild card looking in. Perez is getting to that level where he's going to make his first ever All-Star team. Up until yesterday, Perez was leading the AL in quality starts. The complete game shutouts, he was tied with quite a few others. Not necessarily showing the wins, but the amount of run support is little to none that he's been given, which kind of does reflect into his record, which we did say we weren't going to talk about. But he was up there in the AL's best, and he was quite named a top 5 AL Cy Young candidate in the past few weeks by Bleacher Report, MLB.com, CBS Sports, Yahoo Sports. Alcantara was actually not in that conversation. Martin Perez has been dominant this year. Like I said, he had this 9 straight quality start run dating back to April. He went against 42 first-place teams and teams over 500 in that span. In that 9 quality starts is where he got his 4 wins, and the team went 8-1 in that span. Just phenomenal. And that's continuing why Martin Perez has been the best pitcher in baseball this year, just because of his importance to his team and how he's helping his team be where they are right now. And that's so important considering the fact that you look at the rest of that team, they're not in that position. And you're looking at a guy who has had a resurgence like never before. I could see my time.
All right. Thank you, Wolmer, for your closing statement. Lily, you can come off of mute, and your 2-minute closing statement starts now.
First of all, to Josh's number 1 fan, I will apologize for yelling. That is not a good reflection of my character, and I do not like that was part of my debate. But I would like to mention something that I did not have an opportunity to say during the debate. So over his last pick starts, Alcantara has had a 0.56 ERA, being 3 earned runs for 248 innings pitched. He's the first pitcher since Jake Arrieta in 2015 when he was with the Cubs to go at least 7 innings and allow no more than 1 earned run in 6 consecutive starts. So again, 7 innings, no more than 1 earned run in 6 consecutive starts. Arrieta did go on to win the NL Cy Young that year, so it's something to take a note of. But Essentially, during this time period, he's had given up 24 hits, 8 walks, but has struck out 46 batters. He has an insane arsenal and is finally hitting the point where he is doing well on this team, though they are losing. They are giving it their all in the AL East, and they're giving it a really hard shot and really fighting hard for this. He is just showing how he is extremely dominant. He's getting a lot of more strikeouts on guys swinging, showing that he has great control out of his 4-pitch arsenal. He's doing a lot there, fooling everybody by having all of his pitches be used about 26 to 22% of the time. He is truly an ace and is doing everything possible. Again, 1.61 ERA. He's had 15 earned runs, only given up 4 home runs, 77 strikeouts, leads the MLB in innings pitched as well. And there's a lot more there for him. 83 and 2/3 innings pitched overall, leads baseball in WAR as well, out of any player in the game. He's doing a lot, and I think he's the best we've seen so far. Oh, I'll close it there.
All right. All right. Well, thank you both for those closing statements and a passionate debate. I expected nothing less between you two, and you guys delivered. So thank you both. And the voting is now open for our third and final debate. Let's see here. Neck and neck here as we get started off. Tied at 4 right now. Colorcast is telling me there's 12 of you here, but I have 11 votes so far. So let's see. Well, I'm just going to let this run the full the full 2 minutes of voting because I want to make sure I get you guys all in here. Wolmer is leading 9-5. I'll make that 9-6, 9-7 for Wolmer. I think we got a 10-8 the last time. So I think there's 18 of you guys that are actually in here. But I'm going to let this go, the full 2 minutes, just to make sure it's 10-8 right now. I'm in favor of Wolmer. Oh, there's more of you guys in here. Okay, 11-8. 120 remaining on my timer. I'll see if there's going to be any more movement here. 11-8 in favor of Wolmer. Let's see. I'll give this maybe another 10 or 15 seconds. See if any other votes leak in here. All right. I think that is going to do it there. Wolmer, you've completed the hat trick, my friend. You win this debate 11-8. You now hold the season 2 title at 5-0, and you are now tied with Lily for the best all-time record in Light 'Em Up history at 8-3.
I'm in utter shock. I really think Lily out-debated me there and had a much better statement. So I appreciate everybody who voted for me, but I really did not think I won that. Good debate, Lily.
Phenomenal. Great display by you both. All right, so I'll go ahead and wrap this up here. Thank you all again for listening to tonight's show, and a special thank you once again to Wolmer, Patrick, JG3, and LilySchu for lending their talents and voices. You can find this episode on all podcast platforms and now YouTube. They should be posted on Tuesday morning. And now you all are more than welcome to stay right here for Cool 'Em Down, hosted by yours truly. But Wolmer, Lily, thank you both again for sending us home on a fantastic note. And for those of you that are not sticking around for Cool 'Em Down, may you have a great rest of your Sunday evening.